Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
So it has all the supporting Docker container that particular.
It's like a fully managed service. Like we have deployed manually. Like I have installed Docker, and on top of that, we have installed Kubernetes here. You just you don't need to do anything. Okay, just give the name of the cluster.
So that CLI also is available.
Also there. Yeah.
Okay.
Because to interact with Kubernetes cluster, you have to use CLI. The GUI interface is good, but not up to the mark.
Okay.
For monitoring purpose, it is good.
No, if you deployed,
can you please explain the difference?
So if you deployed your service,
Will you come again?
Can you please explain the difference between when we deploy the containers in CS and EKS? Like, what would be the difference? How the
There is no difference. You will have deployment.
Okay, you said some flexibilities there in EKS.
Like you can add more nodes. Like I have one node, like you want to node, I want to add one node. That is the flexibility you are going. There are some drawbacks with EKS. It's quite costly. One thing. Second thing, you will not get the latest version of
I have a question. Both scaling and auto scaling is finally increasing the number of pods, right?
Yeah.
Why is it that one is called horizontal and the other is called vertical?
Vertical.
I can explain that. So I think vertical scaling means you are increasing your storage CPU and all. So horizontal scaling means you are increasing your replicas. Is that right, Gopal?
No. Horizontal scaling, in simple term, like yeah, horizontal. Yeah, perfect. Horizontal scaling, you are increasing RAM and processing power. No, vertical scaling, you are increasing your RAM and processing power. Horizontal means we are adding more number of pods to handle your load. Okay.
No, see, if any application is running under load balancer, if you are increasing horizontal increasing, see, your traffic, incoming traffic is increased. So at that time, if you are doing horizontal scaling at that time, the load balancer will increase the servers, number of servers, they will get increased. So if you enable vertical scaling means the storage, memory and CPU will get increased. That is the difference.
Yes. When we talk about auto scaling means minimum number of server I am running 10 all the time. If those server cannot handle your workload, it will add 4 more number of pods. Okay. Not only that, when the utilization goes down, it is going to remove those 5 pods also. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It will do scale out operation and it will do scale in also. Do you deploy solution on EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service? The managed Kubernetes service from AWS.
Yeah, we are trying that now, Gopal. Yeah, just started it.
Okay. How did you find it?
It was finalized by the architects to have a unified deployment arena across the ECS. So I know that cost is high, but I don't know what was the rationale behind choosing EKS.
Are you running any production grade app on top of it?
As of now, we are having only non-prod. Still, it is in testing stage. So hopefully by Q2 or Q1 of next year, we might have something in production.
There are a lot of issues with EKS. Okay. Like the backup is not happening sometimes of that cluster backup. Then like people have certificate manager, which is now available in Kubernetes also. It don't get applied. Then the backup should happen on S3, but it is going on block storage. It will take time.
Okay.
Azure, they have perfect Azure Kubernetes service. If you take DigitalOcean also, they have perfect Kubernetes cluster. Rackspace also is good. Amazon, I think even by this year end that they will perfect. Kubernetes is growing every day. New things are coming. Learn it. I have given you that program also, right? The advanced topics. Try to learn those topics also. It will be very helpful for you.
Gopal, can you explain the vertical versus horizontal one more time?
Vertical.
Scaling.
I also get confused with vertical. Just a second. Vertical means I am adding, like I'm running as a pod with 2 core processor and 2 GB of RAM. Okay. Later on, when I see the utilization, I see that 80% utilization, I'm doing it. So, and the pod is not performing well. Okay. So what I do is I will increase the increase the processing, like from 2 core to 3 core, and RAM also I will increase it. So I will get a better performance. Okay. That is vertical scaling used in monolithical architecture, where I cannot add more, where I cannot add similar pod. Okay. If you have a monolithical app, sometimes it's not like that monolithical app cannot be run as a container. It can be run as a container, because microservice is now also challenge for every organization. It is not easier to convert those microservice, convert and monolithical architecture into microservice, because they have to do re-architect the whole application. Okay. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, we have that legacy. That's why I was just trying to understand what is a vertical versus, because we don't have those on the on Kubernetes yet.
There are some legacy application which cannot be converted. Means it can be converted, but too much resource consuming, new manpower need to be put. Okay. So many things it has to go through. Then only new architect planning need to be done. Okay. Kubernetes has a problem of state also. Kubernetes has a problem of state. When we talk about state, what do you understand by state?
No idea.
Anyone?
So it's the physical state you're speaking with, stateful and stateless.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
it
yeah.
known as?
Yes. What is stateful app? The biggest example I will give you is you book a ride in Uber and you book a ride in Ola. Okay, sometimes you have seen that you book a ride in Uber, everything works fine. Okay, ride get booked and everything. You book a ride in Ola, sometimes two taxi driver is calling you. Is it right? Have you faced any problem like this?
Yeah, sometimes.
So Uber is, they keep a state of the application. 2200 services are there, they are keeping the state. Okay. Means if somebody book and ride, he has to follow all the 22 services are communicating with each other properly. There will be no lags. Okay. And if you book one car, that car only will come. Okay. Other than that, nothing else will happen. Okay. Either the ride will be cancelled, there will be no other car. But in like Ola, last around a year back, they also try to containerize their app. A lot of their services are being containerized. Okay. Now they are facing a problem. They are facing a problem of keeping the state of the customer. Like in a peak time when people book, it, the traffic goes to two different rides also sometimes. Okay. And sometimes the payment gets deducted automatically also. This is something happening in Ola. Okay, they don't say, but I think it has been resolved. So if you don't keep a state, it's very difficult. Similar to that, like if you are using Amazon Prime, okay, or if you are using Amazon Prime, or if you are using G5 or
Gopal,
Sony Live.
sorry for interrupting. I have a team meeting to connect, so I'll just drop off from the call
Yeah,
and we will
yeah,
join
no
by one.
problem. No issue. No problem.
Thanks.
So suppose you use G5 or you use Amazon Prime. Okay. Now in Amazon Prime, like I have watched half of the movie and stop it. Next day I on it, I will be in that same path. But if you use G5, again you need to start. Like you will not get the state that where I left it. Okay. Amazon Prime shows you because they don't, like Z5, they have not matured enough to keep that state. Okay. Why I am giving you example of Amazon Prime or Uber? The reason behind banking industry for transactional workload, they have not containerized. Banking or finance sector. Okay. None of the banking and financial sector, they have for transactional workload, they have not yet containerized any of that. Do you people, like you are also in the financial sectors, do you have containerized any production grade application where transaction workload is going on? Hmm?
You can say no.
No, why? If this type of scenario, like 2 car comes, that is okay. If your transaction happened 2 times, what you will do? Hmm?
Need to call customer care again and need to tell.
What
Not
customer
only
care will
customer,
say?
it is a compliance issue. It's a major financial.
Like in India, it's okay. Okay. You will get the refund after 3 days. Standard reply. But in US and Europe, it's a compliance issue. Okay. It is a huge compliance issue. So most of the financial industry, they use Docker, Kubernetes for their analytics purpose, future where they need to invest. In that type of scenario, they are using. Okay. Mostly for data analytics and all this purpose they are using. But for transactional workload, till now, Kubernetes do not have a solution. They have solution, but it is so complex that being deployed by like some of the industry like Uber has done it perfectly, and they have like to keep the state of your application, they have traffic management system they have created using service mesh. And they deployed something called as Istio. Okay, this is a service mesh which keep track of your state. Being created by Uber, Lyft, and one more organization to keep the state. Okay. But up to some of the industry is working fine. But some like financial and it will take a little bit. Financial and insurance, those who follow huge compliance, like in US, the compliance is too bad. Okay. Europe also the compliance is too bad. Yeah, people use it on financial like blockchains and everything. So Kubernetes is evolving. Like Gartner is also saying people that make something in Kubernetes. Okay. So people are developing it. It will take time because it's. How many years you have heard about Kubernetes?
From last 3.5 years, we are
Huh?
thinking about this.
How many years?
Last
3-4
3
years.
years. Yeah.
So within 3 years, a product has not. It is evolving. Okay. Till the time Google is maintaining it, it is very good. Then after that, they give it to CNCF. It is evolving. Okay. So many new things are coming. Okay. Except transactional workload, run Kubernetes everywhere. Okay. Organization like streaming media. Okay. They are 100% using Kubernetes. Like Netflix is deployed on top of Kubernetes. Amazon Prime is running on top of Kubernetes. Where transaction is not too much important. Okay. If you repeat the movie sometimes, that is okay. Okay. Try to learn about what is Istio. Okay. I have created a video. I will share it today. And everyone coming up with their offering on Kubernetes. Okay. IBM has come, Amazon has come, Azure has come. The next thing we are going to learn about, we have learned about pod deployment. Now we are going to learn about persistent volume. Okay. In Docker, we have a lot of issues related to volume. Like I cannot allocate quota on volume. Okay. Like the administrator or the architecture has given me 10 gigabyte of storage for my project. So inside my project, I have two different things like project 1 and project 2. Okay, or sub projects are there. There also I want to allocate that my from 10 gigabyte, the main project should use 5 GB of storage. The other project should use another 3 GB of storage. Okay, in that type of scenario. Kubernetes help you to do it. They have two different APIs. They called it volumes also in Kubernetes. Or we can say these are the plugins. So managing storage is a huge problem. Okay. So what Kubernetes
Docker,
has done? Yeah.
in Docker, we can assign the same volume to many containers, right?
If it is, yeah, you can do it, but you cannot
Yeah, then
assign the
what's the
same
drawback?
volume to two different databases. Like I have two my SQL database, I cannot assign it with one single volume. You have to create two different volumes. Then only you can assign.
Why? We can assign, right? In Docker, we can assign the same volume to many containers.
Containers, but if they are database container, they flash. You need to change the path. You need to change the path. Okay. My first container should be in a different path. The second database container should be in the different path. That generally you can do. But other than that, if you put both the container in the same path, they will never be up. Database I'm talking about. Okay. They cannot means both the container cannot mount that storage. Okay. Database container. Yeah. So managing storage is a huge problem everywhere. Okay. Kubernetes give you an API called as persistent volume. Okay. It help you to administrator your volumes in Kubernetes. Okay. So this persistent volume, okay, it also like it also abstract the details of how storage is provided and how it is consumed. So to do the same, like how storage is provided and how storage is being consumed, okay, they provide you with two different API. One is persistent volume. The other one is PRESIST volume claim. When we talk about persistent volume, okay, it is a piece of storage in cluster that has been provisioned by an admin, or it is like a resource in cluster. Okay, like we have resources like node is a resource similar to that. Okay, now once they have allocated the resource, if you want to request that resource or storage, you have to use PVC, persistent volume claim. Okay, so persistent volume claim, till like you provision a volume, you don't think that after provisioning the volume I can attach it with an pod or container anytime. If you want to request that resource, you have to use a persistent volume claim API, then only we can do it. Okay. So what we will do is, let's create a volume, attach it with one of my container and see. To do the same, go to the worker node. Make a directory mnt/data. sh-c. Inside that directory, you can directly open a VI editor and create a file. I can do it through echo command also. Hello from data storage greater than mnt/data slash index.html file. This too you need to run it on your worker node. This too you need to run it on your worker node. Then go back to the master node. Once done till here, tell me.
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan and grow your skills immensely.
Done, all of you?
Yeah.
We done it in the worker node only, na?
Yes.
Yeah.
I will create an new file, alt file, save as. YAML, save it. This is my persistent volume. Okay. I will use API version :v1 kind PRESISTENT volume. So I will invoke the persistent volume API. Metadata. Name of that volume I want to give. I called it task-pv volume. Labels. Type colon. I'm using the local volume, so I have given label as local. Now, specification about that volume. Storage class name. I give the name as manual. Manual storage we are doing it. Capacity, how much I want to consume it. I define the capacity. Storage colon 10 gigabyte. Access modes. I can read, write once. What is the path of my volume I need to define? Host path colon path colon slash mnt slash data pv dot YAML do cube ctl apply hyphen add pv dot YAML. Spelling mistake. PER. It has been created. It add it commit -n resistant volume. It push -n Yeah, I have uploaded the code.
Yeah, Gopal, see, we are creating deployment.yaml file and volume.yaml file, right? So see, currently I created this YAML file in one path, and after I deployed and I created the resources, if I move that YAML file, is there any problem?
Anywhere you can do it. kubectl apply will always, it is not going to look for your file. Okay. kubectl apply, that will interact with your Kubernetes API gateway, and -f means I have put wherever the deployment file is there. It will apply the content.
Okay, okay. It's not like, see, whenever we are creating image from the Docker file, we have to mention the path of that. Is there any specific requirement?
No.
Okay.
Anywhere in your directory you store it.
Okay, okay. Yeah, done, volume created.
Everyone done? API kind, metadata, label. Is it clear till here?
How can I see that describe? If I type kubectl describe volume.
I'll come on that. I am getting on that. But in this code, up to here, it is clear, na? The starting 6 line.
Okay, how many types of it's a local means? Yeah, local and
That is label, you can put anything.
okay.
Type I would say Gopal, okay? I need to map it with claim. That is the reason I have put. Storage I have used 10 GB of storage I wanted. Read write once means what is read write once means?
Told earlier, once only we can read this volume. We can read and write only once. We cannot too many times.
This is my master machine. These are some of the work unknown. This storage will be here also, here also, here also. Is it right?
Yeah.
At a time, one pod, okay, like the pod will be here also, here also. So at a time, if this pod has mounted this volume, this should not do it, this should not do it. Is it right? That is one scenario. Clear?
No, come again.
If this is my like SQL database where transactional workload is going on. So I put read write once. So if this pod has mounted this volume, like this volume is an NFS volume, okay, network file system, which has been mounted with all your worker node. So if I put read write once, there are 3 pod I have it, okay, which is using the same storage, all these 3 pod, okay. So if I put read write once means if this pod has mounted the storage here, okay, none of the other pod can mount it. Clear? Read write once means
So only one pod can do the operation?
yes.
Okay.
If I put read write once, if I want all the pods should do the operation, then okay. Clear? If I want all the pods should do it, what I need to do? What I need to do if all the pod want to write it like all this, like think that all this pod are storing some log files or something. I want to store the log files for all. We have to do read write many. Okay. Clear? And
Can you
most
give
part
an example for read write once? Like other pods, let's say all the 3 pods belong to similar module, right? They are doing the same microservice application. Now you are only one pod has the access to read and write. What about others? Like what action they will be doing? They can't read the data also.
I'm not talking about microservices like in database type of scenario.
Okay.
I don't want multiple database should start writing on the same folder. Okay. It's like first in, first out.
Okay.
But if you want it, that I want that all microservice should consume. So in that type of scenario, you have to put read write many. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Both the options are there. Depends upon what type of application you have it. Use it. Okay.
Yeah.
To check this,
Can you explain again? Read write once, read write many.
when we talk about read write once, like I have a there is a like all this container are running as a database. Okay, MySQL or MariaDB or anything. Now there are operations like when we do in database, always it what it do is it always before writing anything it always lock a row. Okay, it always lock a row. So if all these three databases simultaneously locking a row, none of them can write it. Okay, so what we need to do is at a time one database can write it. Okay, one database can write it. So in that type of scenario, we will put read write once. Okay. Microservices where all the services wants to communicate with the storage simultaneously. In that type of scenario, we will use read write many. Okay. So read write once means single operation. Read write many if you have multi operation. Okay. Clear? Understand the difference between read write once and many?
Yeah.
Somebody has asked the question. Clear or not?
Yeah.
How to check? kubectl get pv kubectl get pv task hyphen pv hyphen volume. Task pv volume 10 gigabyte capacity. Read write only. Retain status showing available. Nobody has claimed this volume. Storage class name whatever I have given manual. Can you see the storage? What next I need to do? Tell me.
You have to claim the volume.
Claim it. Is it right? I want to claim volume. TVC. I called it TVC. Save it. API version v1 kind PERSER SISTENT volume name metadata name of the claim task hyphen pv hyphen claim specification storage class name This claim should be attached with that manual. We have given a name. Here also access modes hyphen read write once. One is access mode, another is resource. In resource, we will request. Will request that I need storage of 3 GB. PVC dot YAML kubectl apply hyphen f PVC dot YAML access point PVC spelling mistake. Claim has been created. So if you give a command kubectl get pv task pv hyphen volume, you can see that it has claimed. The claim has previously the claim is nothing, but it has been claimed. Okay. And if I type kubectl get pvc task hyphen pv hyphen claim, that it has been bound. PV claim has been bound with this 10 GB capacity. It and it commit hyphen m pvc dot YAML push hyphen u origin master. I have uploaded the code. Command I will give you 365, 366. Yeah, do it. So we have created a claim, means we have created a volume. Inside that volume, we have created a claim. kubectl get pvc kubectl describe pvc. If I do describe pvc,
There we actually there kubectl gets PV task, PV volume, and PVC. So what's the difference between the two? So climb task and it's a created task, right? Is it?
Like PV will show you that 10 gigabyte PV will persistent volume will create a 10 gigabyte of volume, is it right? It has means like you are having a project. You ask your administrator that in Kubernetes I require 10 gigabyte of storage. Okay. So administrator has invoked that PV API and create a 10 gigabyte of storage and give it to you. The next thing, from that 10 gigabyte of like I have project, I have sub project. Every project should have limited access. Like I bind it this task PV volume. I have bind it with my PV. Okay. So if you look into this code, like I create a claim. In that claim, I have given that 3 gigabyte. From 10 gigabyte, I am using only 3 GB. Then in my sub project, I will create another claim and attach 2 GB like that. Quota management on your storage.
Okay, but if you type this command, it's showing. Can you?
Yeah.
PVC showing 10 GB, but you created for 3 GB, right? PVC.
Yeah, but I bind it there. Okay. I bound it with task PV volume, and in task PV, like this is my PV. I'm like if I do kubectl get PV, so PV show me I have created 10 gigabyte of volume, but bound it with claim. Okay. In my claim, I have defined how much storage I have defined 3 GB. Till now they have not. Till now they have not added something like from 7 GB I can use 3 GB. Okay, the reason means from 10 GB I have already used 3 GB. You have 7 GB space. Okay, they have not added that column. They are not going to add it in future also because this is something called as thin provisioning. When we say thin provisioning means your administrator has allocated 10 GB of storage. Means in your system, if you have 100 GB of storage, 10 GB is fully utilized, 10 GB is being already utilized. That is not the scenario. The scenario is that from 10 GB, if I am using only 2 gigabytes of space. Okay. Other than that, 98 GB is free now also. Okay. Thin provisioning, not hard provisioning they are doing. Okay. That is the reason. It don't shows that I have claimed 3 GB, but it is not showing it. The reason behind it is thin provisioned. Okay. So from I have claimed for, from 10 gigabyte, I have claimed for 3 GB. and I am in 3 GB also. My application is using hardly 1 GB. Other than that, 2 GB is already available. Okay. So that will be allocated to some other pod internally. Okay. Kubernetes managed.
Please enroll our general membership for $399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.